Hi friends, Kansi here from atop Serenity Hill and also the host of the Creative Playground membership. You can find information about that below in the description. And today we are going to play with a pop-out page. So this is the big version. And then the one that I'm going to walk you through today is this funness, where each of the pages there are 3 Victorian puzzle purses on the page for you to enjoy. So let's get started with the folding. So let's get started by making the Victorian puzzle purses, and then we'll stick them into the master junk journal. It helps immensely when you make a Victorian puzzle purse that the paper be divisible. It's square and it be divisible by 3. So these origami papers are 6 inches approximately. They're a tiny bit less than 6 inches, but these are 6 inches. They make a final square that's this big, which is, did not think to make a ruler, which is about 2 inches. Okay, so 6 inches square goes to 2 inches. This size right here is 3 inches, and it is a 9-inch square of paper, and I'll share what this looks like finished. And then I actually did one with a 12-inch square piece of scrapbook cardstock, and this ends up being 4 inches, okay? So 2, 3, 4. And so how big do you want it to be? How thick do you want it to be? Those are some considerations to mess around with. But we're gonna fold one, and then I'll fold it I'm going to fold all 3 of them so that you can see, but always remember, because we are working on a video, this is recorded, you can watch it as many times as you want, all right? So don't make yourself crazy. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is I'm using this paper. It's got one side is white, one side has got a pattern. I did it, 1, to show you because it's easier for you to see, and 2, because I'm going to put all 3 of these, as you saw, into my book. All right, so the first fold is across on a diagonal to make a triangle, okay, and it helps to have a bone folder, of course, handy. So a triangle, open it, and then go in the opposite direction so that you have 4 triangles, okay? At this point, it helps to have a ruler and a pencil handy. And I'm going to measure on the back. There's a reason I'm measuring on the back to divide whatever your paper is. Mine happens to be 6. And I just realized I need to measure this tiny bit different because it's not exactly 6. So I float the ruler, but I'm measuring it at 2 and 4 because this is 6. So if you were doing a 9, you would do 3, 6, 9. If you were doing a 12, you would do 4, 8, 12. Okay, so you're dividing the paper into 3 on 2 sides. And the reason I'm putting these marks on the back is because it's easier for me to see when I fold. Okay, so I'm going to fold it in thirds. Fold on that little pencil line. Make sure the top is lined up. And crease. And then even though I made a mark, I just fold it in to that point. And if you measure correctly, you will get the mark shows up. You can see the little pencil mark right there automatically. Okay. But that's just a double checking. So I've got triple one way, and then I'm going to do in thirds, not triple, but in thirds the other way. So fold on the pencil line. I fold in, just double checking that my pencil line shows up here, which it did. Okay, that's your double check. All right, so now you have 9 squares. There's a diagonal line in the 4 outside ones, and there's an X in the center. Okay, we're going to flip the paper over So then now, if you're working on origami paper, that is a great way, by the way, to practice this. Then you've got the white down, your paper color up. If you're working on straight white paper, maybe put some watercolor splash on one side so that you can see. All right. So I'm going to ink. Okay, I'm going to ink some edges here just because I would not do this normally, because I'm not a big inker in this project. I probably wouldn't ink, but I want to get where the corners of these the four corners of the square, the center square, are visible. You can see it when you're folding, but I want you to be able to see it on camera, okay? So I'm going to turn it so it's diagonal, and I'm going to fold up. You should see that there's one square here, two squares here, three squares here, okay? I'm going to fold up to over the first two right before number 3, so right where the corner of the center square is, and fold it down. Open, twist, and do the exact same thing, folding up to the corner of the center square on all 4 sides. Okay, creasing now really well as you go. And I'm going to reiterate this again. This takes practice. If this is the first time you're folding this, give it some time to learn, okay? Give it some time to learn. Now I'm going to flip back over. And what I want you to notice is that in the corners of each of the 4 corners, the paper is like in a valley, okay? And then in the square in the middle between the corners, there is a mountain, and they're parallel. So valley and mountain parallel. Every time you turn it, valley, mountain, valley, mountain, the parallel. That's important that they be parallel. Valley, mountain, okay? If it's a smaller piece of paper, it will help to kind of grab onto the bottom, and you want to make sure the mountains are coming up, all 4 mountains, and all the valleys are going down, and you squeeze everything together. Yes, if you do it correctly, and if you just take your time squeezing it, it will just fold in on itself. All right, I'm going to do that again. So once you have this open, valley, mountain, parallel. You can see how they're parallel all the way around. Okay, so just kind of gathering up and making sure the valleys are valleying, going backwards, and the mountains are mounting in. Y'all, I'm making up words here. They're coming up towards you, okay? And I have to thank a student recently for teaching the squeezing it all together method. I usually would go around and then just start to push it in together. And I had done it so many times that it became natural to me. But she was squeezing it kind of like from the bottom, and it just fell in on itself because they do interlock, okay? They interlock on each other. From here, you're going to start folding in these little, I guess the little tails or the, the points of the star in a row. You're following around. And then the very last one gets tucked in underneath the first one. You might have to just, maneuver it a smidge. And then you have your pocket, okay? To open, you pull, and you pull, and there you have it. And you can decorate the heck out of it. So we're going to do all 3 of these. I have 3 origamis. Okay, so whatever color, this is where you can decide on if you have a pattern on your paper. All right, then when you start with the folds, you want the pattern against your table. Okay, so the pattern that is going to be on the outside is going to be against your table. So I'm folding in a triangle. Okay, I'm going to do it another time for you, and then we'll move on. Folding in a triangle. Now we're going to Measure, I always flip it over so I can see my marks. Measure so that you divide the paper into thirds. Okay. I'm floating my ruler ever so slightly because this paper is not exactly 6. Flip over. I'm going to fold the sides into thirds. Remember, you want to make sure that you're lining up those edges. Okay. Everything as square as possible. I tuck this other side in and I use the pencil mark as a double check to make sure, again, pencil mark is there, that it's absolutely in thirds. Then I flip it to the other side, find my other pencil mark. Lining up the edges. Score it down or smush it down, bone folder it down, however you want to do it. I use this as my guide, double checking that pencil mark and open it back up. Okay, then I'm going to flip it over, twist it this way, and then I'm folding this corner up. There's a square in your center, and you're folding it to the outer corner right before this one. Okay, scoring it down. Do it for the other one, all 4 sides. Okay. Flip it back over, and then we want to make sure we have valley, parallel mountain, valley. If you need to like recrease them, it doesn't hurt to go in and recrease them because those are the ways you want to force them into the way you're going. But valley in the corners, mountains in the center, and if you need to recrease, okay. And then I'm going to gently squeeze it underneath. Making sure all my, whoops, I'm doing this, I'm trying to do this so that you can see that sometimes it's not always perfect when it folds, okay? But you're trying to get all your mountains into the center and they interlock into each other. Voila, okay? From there, and you can, go back in and start using the bone folder and smooth down the edges, sharpen them up. And then I just start folding, let's go this way, start folding them in. Is that right? Yeah, that's right. One at a time over each other. This paper is giving me an optical illusion, I have to tell you. And then the final one gets tucked under the very first one. Oop. All right, and then I have the second. All right, I'm going to do the same thing to the blue, and then I'll be right back. All right, so I have my 3 little pop-ups, Victorian Puzzle Purse pop-ups. And I'm going to find a place to put them in my journal. I also want to share that I made this one. I want you to have a couple, especially if you followed along with how I made this journal and you put some blank envelopes or, some bill pay envelopes, then this size, the 12 by 12 paper, would be really fun to glue onto this page. So instead of having, it could also go, in the envelope if you want it. This could be something you tuck in the envelope. All right, it fits that way. Or you can glue it onto the envelope so it opens up and pops open. And you can see this opens up like hugely. Get that. Whoa. So if this is glued, you can see how big, how much fun that would be to have inside of your junk journal, okay? And then you can decorate it and do whatever you want, because this is just another giant, art journal. if you think of it that way, it's just another piece that for you to decorate. You have all these different surfaces. So just so that if you have an envelope and you have a 12 by 12 piece of scrapbook paper, this is a perfect place to glue this down, all right? But I'm going to use one of the covers of the signatures, just because I love the coffee. It's what I like, putting the bright pieces against the coffee. So what I want to do is I'm going to glue these down. These do not have to be glued down. I'm making this a part of my junk journal, but these can also be something that you just make and stick in an envelope and hand to someone. They make a really fun, interactive card if you wanted to send it as a card. And before I'm done, I will show you these two so that you can get an idea of how to use it as a standalone piece that you could just put in a pocket, okay? Just because I'm putting it as a glued piece that you can open and explode on the page doesn't mean you can't just tuck it in a pocket or under like a belly band. And all those types of, pockets and belly bands will be coming. So I love that it's against this, but I wanted to maybe create some kind of grid, or I don't know. I wasn't really sure what I was going to do. My thought was to use some paper. This is a printable from my Woodland zine. I will put the link to the Woodland zine below if you would like to grab this printable. And I thought it might be fun to maybe put this along the back in strips. And then I found this in my stash. It was as I was getting ready to do this. This was sitting on my table. Ooh, I just realized it's double-sided too. It's double-sided. Look at that. And it kind of fit. I mean, not kind of, is almost the same exact size. And it went with, kind of went with the colors. I like that there's a little blue in here, so maybe even this size. So I'm going to rip some paper. Let me grab, I have a couple different, you can obviously just rip paper. You never have to have a fancy tool for it. But I have a couple rulers. I'd seen a couple, what they call them, tear rulers. And, I liked the idea that you could make it look torn, but without it, I'm not tearing it like this, because this is hand tearing it and it does like crazy stuff like that. So I just want to get some paper. I want to make sure I have a width. Yeah. So I'm going to tear some paper. Okay, so I have my 3 pieces of the book paper printable ready, and then I also cut the strip that I had found of this paper that I thought picked up all the colors, which I love. So the plan is to glue these down. These would go on top. So I just have to, play with placement. And so I can pay attention to these, or I can just ignore them. I'm planning to ignore them because I know when I put the journal together, they were not equal. I just know that. All right, so I know where those are going. So I'm going to glue the book paper down. All right, so then I have choices. I can make these exactly in the center. Or I could maybe, have some interest and move them to the side. They don't have to be exactly square. It would leave place for more journaling or some quotes or, whatever it is that you're finding fun about this. And then the other thing I want to do is it's kind of plain. I mean, I know I have all these papers on top, but to me, it's a little plain. And one of the things I like to do with my watercolor and with my collage paper is what I call bleeding the collage, or it's just a way of, I'm looking for my color chart, okay, because it's easier sometimes to find, like, what color is this? It's fun sometimes to make the collage not look like just a strip. And so I will pick up some of the color that's around the collage. And that's why I call it like bleeding it out into, whoops, I'm not sure where that came from. Bleeding it out into the background, okay? It tends to just make it a little less harsh. You can do it as much as you want, as bold as you want, but it's just something I do once in a while to make collage feel more cohesive to the background. Even some quick splatters. Wouldn't be a bad idea. Okay, so the other thing I want to bear in mind is I also want to make sure the color that I'm putting down with the paper, is it also represented, okay? So I can add, there was tiny bits of those colors in the collage, which made me, want to pick this collage paper. But now I can extend it and make it look like it was deliberate as a choice, okay? A couple splatters that way too. This is one of those colors that's not quite orange, not quite red. And then the final one is the blue, which only just has touches here. But now I have the ability, these are little pieces that someone gave me as a sample, of adding on and adding in some of these colors and making it, again, more deliberate. And it's also a wonderful way to just add color into your background. Okay, it just doesn't look so blah. Let's add a couple splatters of the blue. Boop, boop, boop. Okay. It gives a nice background. So let me dry this and then we will add our little Victorian Puzzle Purse pop-outs to the page. All right, so before I actually glue these down, if you can do this two different ways. I don't have them glued down yet, so I want to add some fun things to the inside of this. It is not necessary. You could leave these, just glue them down, and then they become open spaces that you work in later. They can become hidden journaling spaces if that's what you're looking for. It could just be that if you're using this as an idea book, you don't do anything with them. You just fold it, glue them down, and then that's the idea for doing a Victorian Puzzle Purse piece for another journal. You do whatever you want to do. But I thought I would just give you some quick ideas. I have these 3 stickers that kind of went with the color scheme. So the yellow one, these are bright papers. These are a little bit more muted, but they worked, with the general color, and it would be a nice surprise to pop open and find. So I have one for each. And so I'm going to find it a little easier to do this before I glue them down. And so I'm going to glue these down, but before I do that, I also thought, well, wouldn't it be fun if I do a flower in it? What if I just did like a ring of leaves around it? So I grabbed some of my cling stamps and, whoops, you can't see what the color, and a green, just a neutral, beanstalk green it's called, to just add some background because it went with, kind of went with all the stickers, okay? So it's just another way of just adding something fun into the center. These puzzle purses honestly can be as busy and layered and complicated as you want them to be, or they literally can be, whoops, sorry for the banging, they literally can be a holder for some journaling space where you just maybe add some watercolor on the inside and you call it done, okay? That is as busy as it needs to be. So if I add the sticker in, which I fussy cut out of, out of a bigger sheet. And this sticker paper is pretty thick. The stickers were given to me and they were made from Cricut sticker paper. I use Office Depot sticker paper, which is a lot thinner because it's a mailing label, and this is actual sticker paper. So what I have to do, if your stickers are a bit on the thick side, is I do have to make sure it's folded. I'm going to have to fold it down so that it can fold back up, okay? So I need to crease, my stickers are bigger than my square. So that's something for you to bear in mind as you're decorating this. Does it go past where the folds are? And so do you need to, if you're doing collage or, a thicker sticker like this, do you need to go back in and burnish it back down and just so that it folds back up naturally? And for this, I do have to. I tested it to make sure before I even got on camera, okay? But when it opens, it gives a nice little pretty surprise. You could even, grab the ink pad and come in and just add a little inking on the outside. I'm not a distress ink person, so I use my ink pads. That's just that's how I roll, people. And always, you do you, okay? And so it just gives it a little bit of a grungy feel. So I'm gonna go ahead, and because I love this, I had some other leaves available, but I don't think I'm gonna use them. I really love how this came out. So I'm gonna do that to all three. So I'm gluing down the three puzzle purses, and I just wanted to point something out. This one has a flower that's directional. So when I open it, I want it to be pointing in the right direction. So I put a arrow on the back of it so that when I glued it down, since it was closed, I can't see it. And so it helped me keep the directionality of it. I also decided because, once you can make the decision to put these all down the center, and that's what I thought I was going to do until I glued down everything and added all the color, and then realized that it might be more fun to do them like this, okay? So it just, lots of options for you here. You don't have to like be married to the idea that you have at the beginning. You can try other ideas. I'm going to give this a minute and then I'm going to open them. I'm going to give it a minute to dry and then I'll open them for you. But I wanted to show you this one. So on off camera, this is the white cardstock and this was my envelope. So I still have, it's very tight, but I still have a pocket here. You know, I could, let me grab something that I could just shove in here. You can still tuck, you know, like a thinner piece of paper into this pocket, but I glued the cardstock, you can see, folded up onto the envelope. In the background, because the envelope was completely white, is a piece of this printable. This printable and this printable, the book paper printable, are available as part of a video here. So the Woodland is called Woodland Zine, and I'll link that below just so that you know, in case you would like to have those. So I used watercolor and stencils and some stamps, and you can see that it, once you open it, then you have this fun piece that pops out, okay? And then this I decorated with stamps and stencils. And when I opened it all the way up, I did not do anything, but one set of what I did on the outside shows up here, okay? There's also a piece that's I haven't done anything with yet that is also here. So there's still plenty to play with, but I wanted to give you an idea of what it would look like as you start playing. This also can, if you were holding this, you can fold this back on itself. This is a square that you can decorate, okay? And then that's the square on the back of it when I was opening it. But it's easy to decorate because it's just sitting like that. And you can decorate right in the book. So you can put them in blank and then decorate them, or you can decorate them and then glue them into your book or tuck them in a pocket or wherever works for you. But I just love the way it looks. And it's a super fun interactive page, okay, in your journal, all right? So these are, I'm sure, dry by now. So now you have the same idea that you can open up these little interactive pockets, okay? And I'm gonna tuck, don't wanna tuck them all back in. These are a lot easier. Once they, and you can see, once you've done them a few times, how fun is that? They go back together really easy once they've start to get like folded muscle memory, okay? And then just be careful, that paper is thin. And then we've got this one. Okay, and I probably could have twisted this even one more for the flower because it does have a directionality, but still okay. Fold and tuck. All right, and that is a super fun page as you're going through your journal as just an extra fun thing to put in your journal. And it gives you so much more space to decorate. It's like an art journal within an art journal, which is delightful. So I hope that you enjoyed that. Before we go, I wanted to show you, because I've talked about keeping things simple. So these are just stamps and some stamps and a couple stickers, okay? This one was watercolor and some stamps. And then these two, which were the ones I did for some classes I taught a while ago, are a variety of watercolor, stamps, and stickers, okay? So this one has this little bird as the extra. And then you open it. And the fun thing about this sticker here was one big sticker, and then I just slid it so that you can just open it up. The same with this sticker. It's one big flower, so that like the ones I put in here, you can put them in like a section here, and then you split it with a knife, with a craft knife, and so then it can open, okay? So this one, you can see how I put just, it was really simple. These are all stickers and some stamps, adding some watercolor, all right? And you can start from the outside in and just decorate. And then when I flipped it over, I have, this is the very, very outside, okay? And this is the next level in, okay? And that's super simple, watercolor, stickers, stamps. And then this one has the same piece on the outside, but it's got this stamp, some keys, same idea, one big sticker. Okay, and then we'll flip it over, and you can see I actually created a sort of wreath to go around this section. So I hope that gives you some fun ideas to play with. Don't forget that this is my master junk journal. If you want to learn how to build that, the link is below, as will all the playlists. This will become a playlist as I work through the ideas in this journal. If you're new here, don't forget to subscribe, give it a thumbs up, leave a comment. Let me know if you have any questions or comments. I read and respond to all the comments, and I hope that you will continue on your creative journey with me here on YouTube or wherever we see each other. All right, friends, we'll see you in another video. Thanks so much.